Donald Trump does not hold the belief that Ukraine attacked Putin's residence. He clearly said this while speaking with journalists. The US president was reminded that he was angry with Volodymyr Zelensky after the incident and immediately stated this publicly at a briefing. So why did Trump believe Putin at that moment? Let's listen.
Because at that moment, no one knew. I heard about it for the first time. He said that his house had been attacked. Now, when we've been able to verify it, we don't believe it happened. But it was the first thing we heard about it.
We have a guest joining us, Ihor Popov, expert from the United Ukraine Center. Mr. Ihor, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Ihor, well, let's break it down. Now, regarding this statement by Donald Trump, who once again, perhaps rather suddenly and unexpectedly changed his opinion about what the Kremlin is telling him and how things are actually happening in reality.
There are clear indications that American intelligence agencies have not seen any evidence of a fake attack from Ukraine. Regarding the Valdai residence, there had been signals about this earlier. And so we understand that through channels of secret diplomacy, the United States informed the Russian Federation that they should not engage in provocations, but rather continue peaceful negotiations and seek reasonable compromises. And now Donald Trump's personal statement confirms this. In other words, intelligence is working, diplomacy is working.
Mr. Ihor, in your opinion, or based on your observations, does Donald Trump fully trust his own intelligence services?
There are approximately 24 different federal intelligence agencies in the United States. A system of checks and balances and parallel information channels has been built. And that is why even technical and satellite intelligence often function in parallel with one another. This way, the political leadership can carefully and thoroughly verify their data. Because during changes in political power, scandals periodically occur when both the FBI leadership and the heads of intelligence agencies. Sometimes, individuals try to use sensitive classified information for political purposes. And after that, there are high-profile resignations and scandals. So this factor needs to be taken into account. But in this case, not a single intelligence agency, not a single satellite saw any attacks from Ukraine, specifically on this residence. Well, there's no technical reason either. No particular purpose, because what they write, according to the information, there are 14 Panzer systems and an S-400 stationed there. In other words, breaking through this defense is quite difficult, and launching expensive drones at a target that is so well protected doesn't really make sense.
Mr. Ihor, in your opinion, excuse my slang, are Donald Trump and his team riding high? At this very moment, are they on a roll? If so, then, in your view, with what kind of mood, emotional state, and with what intentions do you think they will approach these upcoming meetings of the European community, which we will discuss separately in more detail?
Indeed, the operation in Venezuela is being recognized as a success by the American administration. This is to a large extent a personal achievement of Marco Rubio as well. In Venezuela, among other things, there is once again a secret operation underway. There is diplomacy between the US, Russia, and China. And so, in exchange for some, if not actual concessions, then at least a certain degree of consideration of Russia's significant economic interest in Venezuela, the United States will, in all likelihood, demand further and additional concessions from Russia in the ongoing peace negotiations on Ukraine.
Well, let's move on to what is expected to happen on the European continent. President Volodymyr Zelensky has announced a series of meetings in Europe as part of ongoing diplomatic efforts aimed at finally ending the war. He himself reported this during his address to Ukrainians. Let's listen to him.
We are already preparing for the next diplomatic week. There will be meetings in Europe that should become another contribution to Ukraine's defense and to bringing the end of the war closer. Ukraine will prepare for both possible scenarios of how events may develop further. The diplomacy that we are currently undertaking or continued active defense at this moment. If the pressure from our partners on Russia proves insufficient. Ukraine seeks peace, but Ukraine will not give up its strength to anyone.
So, Mr. Ihor, upcoming meetings in Europe for diplomatic efforts to end the war. What are your expectations and how are the reference points shifting, particularly for our European partners?
Today, an important meeting of the high-level chiefs of general staff was announced, where they were supposed to agree on the military component of security guarantees. The day before yesterday, advisors to the leaders of states and governments on national security issues were working in Kiev. There, on the one hand, there was good news regarding the economic bloc, namely the creation of the so-called prosperity framework. Both our Prime Minister and the Minister of Economy were involved in this, meaning a plan for Ukraine's recovery with the creation of several funds, sources of financing, and priorities. So this is a very important component of the overall peace process, and the recovery should begin immediately after the ceasefire. And all the plans must be developed before that. But of course, security guarantees were also discussed at the advisors level. We see that this is quite difficult. Countries are understandably afraid to take on specific security guarantees and to enter into concrete defense alliances. So the advisors discussed this, but at the political level, this will be discussed precisely this week, literally tomorrow or the day after. In Paris, as far as I currently understand, a coalition meeting is actually planned, specifically a coalition minute meeting. So it's hard to call them decisive for now, but calling them indecisive would be offensive.